Lane Myers proves he's the lamest Lane Myers of them all by disrupting his Tuesday court hearing. Not to be outdone, SeanPaul, Long Island Audits, wants to use depositions from his court case on his YouTube channel. Oh, it's not a rerun, it's a second case. Deletelawz says he needs his fans to help proofread the cards for his board game, only to give up to play police videos. Says the game will go out with errors because who cares? Plus, Myers' best buddies all say that his arguments will prevail, and all charges against him will be thrown out. For realsy, they have ruled it to be so. All this and pants on this edition of Auditing Insanity.
Lane Myers disrupts Tuesday court hearing. YouTube viewers, please click the text link in the description to access documents from this case. Tuesday's hearing in the ongoing Lane Myers experience had everything any trial watcher could desire: intrigue, deception, bitchy infighting, and of course the sheer insanity of Lane Myers serving as his own defense in one of the two sets of charges he's facing. Judge Scott McDonald filled in for Judge D. Douglas Metcalf and indicated that he was only there to set a trial date and was not familiar enough with the case to rule on motions. However, the case was nearly immediately delayed as Myers had yet to be transferred from the Pima County Adult Correctional Facility. McDonald was ready to set the trial date for July 21st, 2025, before pausing to let the prosecutor and defense attorneys check their calendars. During this brief pause to check calendars and before the court to decide to move on to other cases, Prosecutor Rachel Stiles and defense attorney for Myers, William Parvin, bickered in front of microphones. Parvin said that he thought that Myers was lying about being denied access to the court's law library. Stiles asked if he had called over to the jail to check Myers' story as she had done. Parvin said he had not, and Stiles sniped that he should do his job. The two went on to bicker about Parvin's belief that his motions to dismiss will go in his favor and either see Myers released on bond or the entire case be dismissed. Stiles seemed confident that Myers would remain in jail and go to trial. There was a 30 to 40-minute wait as Judge McDonald heard other cases before Myers was brought to the courthouse and the hearing resumed. McDonald started by attempting to set the trial date for both sets of charges for July 21st, to which Myers interjected and asked if he could be heard. McDonald granted Myers his wish, and Myers demanded a trial sooner than later and suggested starting the trial next week. Myers said that he had again been denied access to the law library and made it clear that there was no sense in being housed at jail when he couldn't prepare to defend himself against the charges he was facing as a pro se defendant without access. He further stated that he was unable to interview witnesses or access the files on his computer from his home computer, which greatly hampered his case. Myers and Parvin got into a verbal dispute over the trial date, as Parvin explained that there were pending motions that needed to be heard before they could go to trial. He attempted to have Myers sign on to those motions, since Myers was still defending himself in one set of charges, as he was confident that Myers would either be released on bond or have both sets of charges dismissed. Defendant Myers agreed to let Parvin's motions play out, but then indicated that he was getting rid of Parvin for the second set of charges after the motions were heard. Myers made a rambling, often incoherent statement of demands to the judge, during which the court reporter had to interject as Myers was talking over everyone and speaking so fast that the reporter could not keep up with what he was saying. At one point, Myers demanded the right to immediately fire Parvin when Parvin corrected Myers' statement that implied he never had access to a computer. Parvin said that he brought his computer each time he visited Myers, but corrected his statement to reflect Myers' declaration that he was unable to have access to the computer when he was not in Parvin's presence. Myers stated that he was again denied access to the law library and said that a guard at the jail ordered him to get a court order for access to the law library. Myers did not make it clear that he was talking about the electronic law library, which all prisoners have access to, or the area of the facility that was called the law library before it was apparently shut down 2 years ago. Making more demands, Myers stated that Prosecutor Stiles was late in filing a witness list, and he said he'd be filing a motion to block her witnesses from testifying due to the lateness of her filing. He demanded that Judge McDonald order Stiles to present her witness list immediately. McDonald declined to do so. When it was Prosecutor Stiles' turn to speak, she again explained that the detention center has stated that Myers has access to the electronic law library, and records indicated that he had been using it since March 21, 2025. On the subject of the witness list, she said that it was not normal procedure to file a document called a witness list, but since Myers was insisting she'd get one together for his files. Stiles brought up that Parvin was refusing to attend a settlement conference. Parvin snipped at her that he was doing his job, and that a settlement conference made no sense because a plea deal was not on the table. Parvin claimed that Stiles would not be offering a plea deal, though Myers interjected that he'd be willing to hear from Stiles should she come up with one. Parvin again repeated that he believed his case would either be dismissed or Myers would be out on bond as a result of his recent motions. Stiles and Parvin eventually suggested punting all Myers' new demands for hearings and motions into the already scheduled Monday hearing with Judge Metcalf. Judge McDonald agreed and eventually set the initial trial for both sets of charges for July 21, 2025. The next hearing in the case is set for Monday, April 20, 2025. Update: Prosecutor Stiles filed a witness list at Myers' request immediately following the hearing. Long Island Audit plans to air deposition videos. YouTube users, please click the text link in the description to directly access documents from this news story. The long-running lawsuit involving SeanPaul, Long Island Audit Reyes, and the City of New York over access to recording in all parts of police precincts took another strange turn on Wednesday, as the defense objected to Reyes' apparent plans to air depositions in the case on his YouTube channel. A joint filing by both sides of the lawsuit has asked for a conference with Judge Jessica G. L. Clark to discuss an order preventing Reyes from airing the depositions of 2 New York Police Department officers on his YouTube channel. Mark D. Zuckerman, representing the City of New York, says the defense is not objecting to Reyes' ability to record the depositions. They are, however, protesting his plans to air the depositions on his YouTube channel. In the filing, they cited that the officers and attorneys involved in the defense have already received harassing and threatening messages from Reyes fans based on previous coverage from his YouTube channel. Zuckerman stated, "As seen, the position of plaintiff for rejecting this compromise as stated to me during the meet and confer is that the whole purpose of creating these videos is that plaintiff wishes to post them online following the completion of this case 1. Ms. Munoz did state that she would talk to Mr. Case, who is on vacation, in the evening of April 14, 2025 about the issues I raised during the meet and confer concerning the past harassment and whether plaintiff would reconsider his position. I have not yet heard back." Reyes' attorney, Karen Munoz Trevino, countered by minimizing the amount of harassment the officers and attorneys, as they were a small part to pay for the First Amendment issues that the banning of the footage would bring. She stated, "This case is not a typical case. This case specifically involves the NYPD's interpretation of the First Amendment, a matter of great public interest. Detective Kukuza is a public employee whose information and activity, generally, is subject to Freedom of Information laws. As such, his activity as an officer is subject to public scrutiny regardless of any pending litigation. It should be noted that an important limitation on the First Amendment exists via criminal statutes, which allow for the investigation of and prosecution against those who threaten police officers. Detective Kukuza's safety is well accounted for by the NYPD's authority given such criminal statutes. The defense may have reason to be concerned, as Reyes is best known for running the second-largest First Amendment auditing-related YouTube channel, with his Long Island audit bringing him extensive fame and fortune. Unlike his rivals, most notably Jose Chili de Castro, Reyes has an active endorsement deal with the Attorney Shield product along with a very active following on Cameo. A recent call for help saw Reyes receive a tremendous outpouring of financial donations, even when he wasn't asking for money. Reyes recently made headlines as he defied a court order and used depositions from a recently dismissed case in Illinois on his YouTube channel to allegedly harass and intimidate the defense in the lawsuit before he filed an appeal. In that case, he may face sanctions for posting the depositions in defiance of the agreement made when he was allowed to videotape said depositions. Reyes had agreed to never post the videos to his YouTube channel at the time of the agreement. He has since blamed his actions on a misunderstanding between himself and his former attorney. The defense for the city of New York is seeking a protective order to prevent Reyes from airing the videos of the deposition on his YouTube channel. Update. On Thursday, Judge Jessica G.L. Clark issued the following ruling. The court has received the city's April 17, 2025 letter, ECF number 127. The parties are directed to confer regarding a proposed protective order that will govern agreed-upon discovery, including depositions, for the pendency of this action and will continue to govern what the parties agree constitutes confidential information thereafter. If the parties are unable to reach agreement, they shall submit a joint letter by May 9, 2025, setting forth each party's respective position pursuant to individual Rule 4K. In the meantime, no party shall post or share with a third party any videotaped depositions without the written consent of the opposing party. The parties filed a joint amended case management plan on Friday, indicating that court-ordered alternative dispute resolution, ADR, would not be effective at this time. The parties cited a pending ruling by the Second Circuit Court of Appeals as the reason they could not move forward with the case at this time. We'll provide updates to this suit as they're posted.
Deletelawz leaves Craig Henry hanging, again. YouTube viewers, please click the text link in the description to view Craig Henry's lawsuit. It was another failure on a Friday afternoon for Jose Chili de Castro as he went live on his YouTube channel to have his fans proofread the nearly 1,000 cards he is including in his nearly complete board game. If you predicted things would go off the rails within the first 10 minutes, you'd be correct. De Castro's night went downhill as he found a mistake on the very first card in the set, with things quickly getting worse from there. By card 10 he was bored, by 15 he had quit and used his usual excuse that this is not the best venue for the activity and was done with the experience. The YouTuber resolved his fans to knowing that that the first 1,000 copies of the board game would be printed next week and that there will be cards that contain errors. He promised he'd personally replace each of the faulty cards as reported instead of taking the time to proofread the cards before production. De Castro watched as his numbers rose from about 49 live viewers on his main channel to a peak of 97 viewers after he stopped editing cards. Though he promised that he would be back in the YouTube algorithm with planned hours and hours of lectures related to the board game, he was quick to abandon the idea as more viewers joined to see him return to reviewing anti-police videos. He also seemed to have a hit with his coverage of Craig Henry. De Castro retained most of his audience as he aired an unedited phone conversation with Henry recorded some time ago from the Vermilion County, Indiana jail. Henry announced that he is now suing guards in the Vermilion County Correctional Facility for First Amendment retaliation. In the filing, Henry outlined that he was punished for multiple infractions within the facility and was placed in segregation for over a month and having his electronic communication device taken away. The jailed YouTuber also stated that he was not allowed due process for punishments incurred in jail when he was issued informal conduct reports. He is seeking punitive damages, injunctive and declaratory relief, nominal relief, filing fees and attorney's fees. De Castro seemed upbeat about Henry's chances at winning the case, offering no real critiques as it was obvious that he had yet to see Henry's filing. turning his attention to his promised GoFundMe for Hendry's $12,000 bond in his Sullivan County, Indiana case. DeCastro seemed thrilled that Hendry had a chance of release on June 30, 2025, when his Vermilion County sentence ends and he is set to be turned over to Sullivan County. DeCastro said that he had things in the works that he could not talk about that were going on to attempt to have the Sullivan County charges dropped or have Hendry's bond greatly reduced. Promising that he'd have Henry's new GoFundMe created within 24 hours, DeCastro again seemed happy that ChatGPT told him a way to funnel all money to Henry's girlfriend, Erica Brown, who would then take over the fundraising efforts. DeCastro spent the rest of Friday's broadcast watching anti-police videos. At one point expressing his belief that only strippers and prostitutes were worse professions than the job of a police officer. Update: as of 12 p.m. on the West Coast on Saturday, April 19, 2025, no new GoFundMe has been created for Hendry. DeCastro is currently live streaming and has yet to mention Hendry or his fundraising efforts.
Myers' forces rally against prosecutor Stiles. YouTube supporters of Lane Myers have apparently combined forces to showcase what they say are weaknesses in prosecutor Rachel Stiles' two sets of charges from alleged crimes he committed in Pima County, Arizona. The reluctant prophet, John Phylax, and Josh This Is a Public Service Gray have all apparently coordinated efforts in recent days to attack the timeline of events from Prosecutor Stiles' charges against Myers. All three displayed the same timeline of events, allegedly provided to them by Myers in recent live streams, and went full in on their thoughts and opinions on how badly they thought Stiles had erred in bringing over 20 charges against Myers. Their coordinated efforts come as Myers' assistant attorney, William Parvin, claims that he is confident that their vast majority of the charges against Myers will soon be thrown out, and/or Myers will be released on bond based on motions he has filed. Parvin is challenging all of the charges in the second set of charges Myers is facing, for which he still defends Myers. The attorney says that most of the charges are duplicative or that they do not accurately follow the laws that were cited when the charges were brought. Myers is due in court on Monday to hear Parvin's motion to determine if Myers qualifies for another bond hearing, and a motion to establish that Myers has access to the law library at the Pima County Adult Correctional Facility. An earlier hearing has been set for Monday to determine if Mark Brown of the Arizona United News outlet will have permission to use his mobile phone to record audio and video of the previously scheduled Monday hearing. That hearing will be heard at 1:30 p.m. local time and may lead directly into the second hearing. Myers' group of friends were also partially campaigning to bring awareness to Myers' ongoing Give, Send, Go campaign. So, how effective were they in getting out the word that Myers needed financial help? On Wednesday, Lane Myers' Give, Send, Go account saw $10 in new donations. No other campaigns saw new donations for the day. Thursday, our own ongoing expenses account took the day with a $25 donation. Again, no other campaigns received new donations. Friday was a very effective day for Myers as he brought in $225 in new donations. He won the day as no other campaigns brought in new donations. Finally, Saturday saw SeanPaul Long Island Audit Raise win the day with a $300 donation to his generic Support the Fight Against Tyranny and Corruption campaign. Myers took second for the day with a $38 donation. All in all, since the campaign started, the efforts of Myers' friends to get the words out about his plight has brought in $273 direct donations to his Give, Send, Go account. While effective, the collective efforts were still outraised by a single donation to SeanPaul Ray's generic GoFundMe account. In other news, as of 1 p.m. on the West Coast on Saturday, April 19th, 2025, Jose Chili DeCastro still had not opened his much-delayed GoFundMe account for jailed YouTuber Craig Hendry. DeCastro addressed the controversy on his Saturday afternoon live stream, resetting the deadline for Hendry's GoFundMe creation until Monday, as he was too focused on his presentation to help out his friend. The YouTuber then made a pitch for Cash App donations, claiming to bring in 6 or 7 new donations to be placed directly on Hendry's books. We'll follow DeCastro's ongoing GoFundMe progress as the weekend progresses. Journalism in crisis. Both ReallyCoolSite.org's daily newspaper and our daily newscasts are funded by your continuing donations and what we make from our YouTube AdSense revenue each month. If you'd like to contribute to help us keep the lights on, eating, keeping the cats fed, and writing new stories to feature on both the newspaper and the newscast each day, we do have a GoFundMe set up. As a real American and true protector of the First Amendment, Lane Myers has made multiple threats to sue us in recent days. Portions of all donations may also go towards fighting any possible future lawsuits. If you can't afford to contribute, please watch our entire videos, like, share, subscribe, and comment. You can help by doing next to nothing, and we thank you in advance for pitching in.